Hey everybody, my name is Arnoldo Offermann on behalf of idjnow, and I'm really excited about today's topic, which is uplighting. Because as I talk to you about different kinds of uplights, we're going to learn about different kinds of LEDs as well and what they do. Now there's tons of different kinds of uplights, but I'm going to break it down among some of the real popular options. There may even be some that I haven't mentioned in this video, but this video is really going to talk about the most popular ones and how you can use them. Now just a quick disclaimer. While obviously the goal of this video is to teach you about lighting and obviously use the guys at idjnow. They're fantastic. This video is completely unbiased. So what I mean by that is I'm going to give you my personal opinion as somebody that does events, both for weddings or school events or even corporate events or right up to doing beauty pageants. So I'm going to give you a very unbiased opinion of the pros and cons of not just each kind of uplight, but what they're able to do. So first of all, let's break it down as to the different kinds of uplighting. See, some uplighting can work as floods because there's such powerful uplights or powerful floods that they can be interchanged. Now, why would you want to do that? If you're in a hotel with really tall ceilings, 20 foot tall, and you want to hit all the way up to the top, you're going to have to look at a little bit more of a powerful uplight. But that same uplight can also be used to flood a room, obviously, when you're using multiple lights. So it's a little bit more versatile. Other kinds of uplights are what we call our thin type PARs. There are some that are made out of plastic, some made out of metal. So let's kind of break it down. Okay, so the first thing we need to talk about are the different kinds of LEDs. Now, there's really three kinds that you're going to see in uplights, and I'm going to try to make this as simple for everybody to understand because some people aren't, huge giant nerds like I am. But let's go and break it down. The very first one, and we're going to go through the pros and cons, are individual diodes. Now, you may be familiar with these, right? Where you have, they look like big giant LED bulbs back when we used to call them that. And one might be red, one might be blue, one green, because you need RGB. There may be white, there may be amber or UV. There's a lot of different kinds out there. So let's talk about the pros and cons about this particular light. So first of all, the pros are usually the lights that use individual LEDs are usually the most affordable ones. Now, when I say cheap, I don't mean cheap in terms of quality. Again, that's depending up to the manufacturer where you get your lights from, but they are the cheapest in terms of affordability. If you want to get into lights and you want to go with a reputable dealer, somebody that idjnow carries versus, an overseas seller that the light may catch on fire, not joking there, then this is a great way of doing it. The major con is that the color mixing is never consistent amongst not just individual lights, but even amongst the light itself. So what I mean by that is, because with lights like these, right, you've got red, green, blue, red, green, blue, red, green, blue, red, green, blue. So if I have it here, well, this is RGB right here. Then on this side is GB, RGB. So here, if I put this up against the wall, this might look different than that going up against under here. And then if I turn it, so all the lights have to be facing the same direction. But there's also what we call RGB shadowing. Now this may be something important to you. It definitely is to me. I want when my light's up against the wall, but you don't see those little arrays of individual color flowering out. So that's the major drawback to using individual diodes, which is why you don't see as many of these nowadays. They are still out there. They are an incredibly affordable option. But try to save up for a little bit more to at least go with the diodes that have multiple colors in them. Now, this particular one is one of my favorites. You see, this one has hex diodes. So what that means is red, green, blue, white, amber, and UV. Now, if you're just using these as uplights, you may say, well, what do I need the UV for? I don't need to make the walls glow in the dark. It's not about that. See, the problem with LED in general is that up until recently, and even now, there's still certain colors you're not able to get that you would be able to do with a conventional bulb. Hot pinks, cyans, mint greens, and the mint green is still questionable. That's why there's a particular mint green LED, but that's a topic for a later video. But the hex gives you almost every color imaginable. If I do 255 on red, and then I add anywhere from 100 UV to 255, meaning full on UV, I get a really, really nice hot pink. Get rid of the red and add the blue, and now we've got cyan. Get the green in, and you've got like a really nice, almost like a light minty green, which is great because if I have a wedding or a school dance or something where green is one of the colors, I don't want to do a lot of green uplights because now it throws green out onto the rest of the floor, and green does not look good on skin. But by adding that UV, it offsets the green where you still get that green, but it doesn't look so sickly on you. I still stay away from green, but it's just a beautiful option. Now, less expensive versions of these may not have the full hex array. So you may not have RGB, W, white, and UV. It may just be a 5-color, right? So you may have RGB, white, and amber, or just RGB white, or RGB amber. If you can swing it, go for the hex. I'm a big fan of the hex series. If not, you need to ask yourself, okay, what's more important, white or amber? Now, I'm going to be honest with you. My warehouse is right over there. So this is part of the warehouse here that I'm in. And about 2/3 of it is nothing but floods and or uplights. We interchange it back and forth a lot of times. And there's so many different kinds because we just got the RGB ones at first. And we're like, we really need amber. Everybody wants the candlelit colors, right? Candlelit was a huge thing. So then we got the ones with RGB amber. And we could have sprung for the hex series, but we decided, nah, it's, I got to buy like 100 of these if I want to keep things cheap. And you know what happened? The whole candlelight thing went out and now everybody wanted pastel. So I needed something with white. So then we get the white. And then after that, we make this big order. Not even 2 years later, the hot colors are coming in. The neon greens, the pretty sky blues, the hot pinks. I'm like, well, I can't say in this video, but you know the words that I said. So being honest with you, the Hex series is one of my absolute favorite. Now there's different kinds, and we're going to cover all that as far as the build qualities as well. But the Hex diodes, super important. Now the last one is interesting, and that's COB. Now, COB stands for chip on board. If you're a sound guy, imagine this to be the line of array of LEDs. It's not just, like for example here in the Hex, we have 6 individual diodes, one for each color. It goes through this really powerful lens and shoots everywhere. The COB LED, inside that weird frosty little center part, depending on the kind, there could be up to 100 LED chips in there. So how is that important? Well, first of all, you're going through a much tighter lens, right? The lens on this one is further out. So what that means is with this, the color mixing is phenomenal. I mean, there's hot pinks that I can get. This is just an RGB fixture. There are hot pinks that I can get in here that I can't get with a standard RGB fixture. I'd love to add some UV in there, but there's no Hex UV COB that's within our range yet, price range. So you not only get that, but you get a huge wide pattern, which leads me to the next thing. This by itself is not a good uplight. Not in the sense that you can put it up against the wall and get that nice tight beam, because this is not meant to be a tight beam. Just like a line array would, where you got multiple speakers and you're shooting it out on far, that's what this guy's doing, but it's shooting it out wide too. Now in the case of this particular part cam, they do include lenses on there. So that makes it a little bit more versatile. And that's something you want to look when you order any kind of uplight is, can we put lenses on it? Or can you put filters? Because there's different kinds of filters that shape the light. They can shape it to be 60 degrees. And then when you turn it a little bit, then it's a nice tight 0. But with this particular one, I don't use it as an uplight versus a wall wash. So for example, if I'm doing pipe and drape, I'll actually back these up maybe about 5 feet from the drape and hit the drape, and now the entire drape is one long consistent color. And I've done that with walls too. So it just gives you a very different look. So there is that versatility with the lens. But if you want the most colors, your Hex is the winner. Now another thing to think about is your power linking. If your lights are battery powered, like this guy right here, but you don't want to run on battery power, maybe it's a long-term event or a multi-day event, and you want to power link them, some of them don't offer power linking. Some of them do, and either they use IEC to IEC jumpers, or in this case, they just use a regular 15 amp wall plug. Next, let's talk about build quality. There's really 2 build qualities: plastic or metal. That's it. Now, advantages are obvious. One's plastic, one's metal. Plastic doesn't mean that it's cheap and it's going to break. You know, we've put this light through its paces. As a matter of fact, this light I got when it was brand spanking new years ago. I got it when it was first released. And it's still in great shape. Now, the bracket's out missing, but that's because I took the bracket out. But this hasn't broken. Other than one little foot that came off, which you can easily glue back on, the plastic one has lasted me a while. But the metal one is always going to be a much tougher build, and it's going to take a lot more abuse. Within the metal, you've got two kinds. You've just got traditional indoor, and then you have your IP rated ones. Now, technically everything is IP rated, but when we say IP rated, we're really already talking something a little bit higher up. IP means English protection rating, which is water and then dust. 56 has been what a lot of us see, which basically means that I could spill water or something all over the light, or it can go through a sandstorm and it would still live. Well, but Arnoldo, I'm just doing indoor events. That's not really important. You're right, it isn't. Until drunk Uncle Bob spills his beer all over your lights. And now you got to tell the bride and groom, somebody's going to pay for it, but sure as heck won't be me. So the IP fixtures do give you that extra option. Plus, you can advertise now that you can do outdoor uplighting and light up the venue, or maybe during Christmas you can light up decorations for people, which I've gotten that quite a bit this year. Lots of outside decor. They want to light it up. Okay, no worries. We're going to need to rent some IP-rated fixtures. So those are really the three builds to think about. But now there's build type. And there's tons of different lights out there. I'm going to give you a couple different options here. The first one is, for example, your typical rounded power can, right? Now what you can do is you can have the yoke right here. And that prevents the buttons here from hitting it. Now some of you may say, well, that's good because I don't want somebody to accidentally, bump the light and the buttons get hit. Some of these lights automatically lock, so you have to hold the mode button down to get them to work. Sweet. But I still like to have it a little bit elevated if, God forbid, somebody spills something. This one isn't IP rated. Then you can remove the yoke entirely and just have it sitting flat on the floor. Definitely recommend getting a light that locks, because if it even gets bumped slightly and it's on carpet or an uneven surface, then it's gonna be out the window at that point. But then you've got more versatile type of designs, and there's quite a few of these. For example, this guy right here, because you've got the handle, easy carry. You have a nice non-traditional parquet looking design. Some of these are white, some of them are like black, like this one here, so they blend into the wall. You have the shroud around, and the shroud's really important because that way it prevents light from leaking out that way. You want that light to just go straight up the wall. There's a nice tight beam coming out of this guy, and I can push this little button here so we can aim the light. So let's unplug this for a second. And you can see here, I can take the light and aim the direction. Now, one of the important reasons that you want to look into a light that you can aim, or sometimes you have to use the yoke if you don't have that handy feature to aim it out, is because sometimes you get venues, especially older venues, that have that awful wall, the mold trimming all the way around. And if you put the light flush against the wall, that mold stops all the light, or at least a good portion of it. So this way I can back it up just a little bit and done. Now that leads me to my third topic of discussion, and that is, how portable do you want your light to be? Now that means, for example, this light, look, I unplugged it. Yay, it's wireless. Some uplights are wireless power only, which means if you still want to control it, you need to do DMX, or it may have a handy dandy remote. Sweet. Some of them may have one or the other, where it's wireless power, meaning it's battery operated, and it has a remote, but no wireless DMX. And some of them have all of it built in. With a USB stick, and some of them will use a USB stick, it's a special USB they have, some of them just have an antenna built in, you can use wireless DMX. I personally am a big fan of that. I don't need to have wireless battery, so I don't use my battery operated lights at all my events. I prefer to plug in where at all possible, just because we're there for 12, 14 hours. I don't really want to worry about batteries. I mean, batteries have come a long, long way personally. But then I get some events where they want lights underneath the table, or the outlets are so far away, and then a light like this is just perfect. So you kind of got to figure out where you want to go, but really think long term. Don't make the same mistake that I did and buy short term. Just say, you know what? I know I'm eventually going to need it. Let's just go ahead and do it. You don't want to wind up with multiple kinds of uplights. But again, your wireless DMX is great. And with this particular light, if you're not a DMX person, I get it. You also do have a remote. You can go in, set your lights, pop, 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 done. But the wireless DMX is really where it's at, because when you can sell your client a show where the entire venue is just going along with the music. For example, let's say you're doing a wedding and you have all the lights in white, and as you get ready to do the introduction, boom, 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 all the lights start slowly fading in, or popping even into the actual wedding colors. and then you just have the white lights right where the bride and groom are coming in. Now it's time to do the cake cutting. All the lights in the room dim, and then the lights by the cake turn on at full brightness. It's just a really unique way of bringing a theatrical look, that element to your wedding that your competition may not be doing. And I haven't even talked about other kinds of uplights, such as single diode uplights. Now what I mean by that is it's basically one diode, not a COB, traditional diode, and it goes through a special lens that makes a really, really, really tight beam. Or linear ones, which are the long types of uplights. I mean, there's so many different kinds. So how do you know which is the right uplight to get? Well, there's 3 ways of doing this. Number 1 is to research online. And what you're going to get is a lot of opinions, and a lot of them may be wrong, a lot of them may be right. I usually facepalm when I read some of them. That's me speaking personally as somebody that does events. Option number 2 is to look at the videos, not just what manufacturers put out, but look at the gig logs that a lot of DJs or production companies, even like myself, do, right? Where they show you and you ask them, hey, what kind of uplight did you use? Like, look it up, Even, I've actually gone a couple of times when I first started buying some different lights, I would just go on Google Images. If I see something I like, I would message the person like, hey, I hate to bother you, but can I ask what uplight or what, flood or whatever light that I was looking for, particular gear, what did you get? And then I research from there. And obviously the third way is to call somebody that's knowledgeable, like the guys at idjnow. Now, they're gonna ask you, what are you wanting to do? Now that's the most important part. Okay, you wanna add uplights. What does your business plan say? Does your business plan say, look, I just want to get some uplights, I want to add value to my package, increase my bottom line a little bit, but there isn't really a lot of times that, I go out for events, maybe it's a part-time DJ, or I'm just on a budget, but I don't want to go too cheap. And they'll help you recommend something. Maybe it's, okay, we have lots of different types of events that we do. Our hotels that we go to often have 20-foot tall ceilings, and we just get every color imaginable requested. One of these business plans is going to require a more expensive uplight than the other. But again, don't make the mistake that I did and like, I don't need this right now. And then later on, you get it. And luckily, I think we're now at a point that we have seen, when I first bought the original versions of these, like this guy right here, Hex didn't exist. Tri-diodes didn't exist. Quad diodes didn't exist. But now we're at a point that you can get a good Hex par and you're not breaking the bank. So it's a little bit easier now than it certainly was 10 years ago. And that's why it's so important to really do your research and budget something out. Because if we really break it down of all the different kinds of uplights in combination, it would be not just one of these tables with a few uplights, but at least 4, 5, 6, 7 tables completely flooded with stacks of uplights. That's not an exaggeration. That's really how many kinds of uplights there are out there. So I really hope that helps out. My name is Arnoldo Offermann with idjnow. Now you know what to do. If you enjoyed this video, leave a comment below. If you're wondering how long my voice is going to sound like this from bronchitis, I have no idea. Leave a comment below and let's figure out how many more weeks till it goes away. If you have any questions or anything like that, comment. If you like this new series from idjnow with a lot of these lighting and DJ tips, make sure to give him a subscribe, give him a thumbs up, give him some good feedback. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night and God bless.